Alright, well, just about reached critical mass in the garage. I got a nice 2-car, but when you try to have as much shit as I do, I literally have this thing like floor to ceiling, not much space left. So my bench I typically work off of is one I dumpster dove. Actually, I'm getting an ultrasound for Andy, my first boy, but it's been cut down since then to fit this nice toolbox in here next to the fridge. But running out of space. I want to have a welding table that I can pull out, so I'm going to make it so it'll go underneath there, and in between the bench and that Craftsman roll box. So that's going to be the next project, is making that fit in there. I'm also going to use some receiver tube and put like I think 3 tubes in there so I can put the bench vise, bench grinders, and whatever else I want to do. Put it on the 2-inch tube, that way it isn't taking up bench space, and I can remove it if I needed to get it the hell out of my way. So that's going to be the project. I'm going to redo the legs, redo the top. This thing's like all Swiss cheesed up from people bolting shit to it over the years. So I'm going to use a copper backer to fill all those holes. Alright, pro tip: if you're cutting steel, well, really any metal, with a circular saw made for wood, just throw a little duct tape right there and you'll really cut down on the amount of shit it throws back in your face. Doesn't take any time. You take it off, you're not modifying the saw. This is even job site good. You know, they can't even say, oh, you know, you modified your tool, it's not you all listed, blah blah blah. Just do it that way, and you're not eating chips. Alright, so like I said, I had a bunch of holes in this table that I wanted to fill in, so I figured I'd just give a quick, you know, overview of how I'm going to do that. One of the best ways to fill holes in steel is to get a dissimilar metal that it won't bond to, like copper. And you can actually hold, you know, I got a TIG finger, just hold the copper underneath the table while you're welding, or whatever you're filling in. And you can fill in the hole, and that might need a hair more. It's still a little bit shallow, but it ends up coming out really good. It's way better than just trying to fill in the hole, like tacking around the hole, and then you end up with a raised piece of shit, and then you're grinding it down, there's still holes in it. This one was all one trigger pull, and you just fill it in. So this one did try to stick to the copper a little bit, probably because this is an old shitty piece of copper I just cleaned up, but it works really good. Way better than the other way. And you know, this is a piece from junk I busted out, and it was actually blazed together from where I cut it out of, pieces of copper bus bar. So it's not worth much in scrap, but you clean it up and it's a great backer piece. If you can't find an electrician to get it from, look up a crackhead. They're always stealing this shit. Worst case scenario, you could actually just take a piece of copper pipe and beat it flat on one end and then use the other part as a handle. Just know it's going to get hot as shit. Alright, so we got the bench blown apart. The joys of taking your one working tool bench apart is, yeah, now I'm working on the floor. Yay. But anyway, got some notches cut in the tabletop. Put some receiver tubes in it. I'm going to drill them all the way around in case I want to drop pins in from the top. I still got to drill a hole here. I'm going to put a nut in here so you can preload them, take any slop out of it. And yeah, you can see I got the holes filled in. That was probably a little hard to see, but that was with the copper backer, so it's pretty much flush. You know, if I cared about the bottom, I could just touch it up real quick. But filling in with that copper backer works real good. So yeah, gonna keep moving. All right. I'm laying out the receiver tubes, and I was just thinking about it. A lot of people probably don't even know about it, but if you need a real fine line, you know, pencil's alright, but it wipes off easy. You know, if you want to mark there and you want to keep it there and not lose it, the best thing to use, if you're not worried about stabbing yourself, is a scribe. You know, almost looks like an ice pick, but yeah, I end up using it a lot on stuff that I'm doing real fine measurements on. Lay it out, get it, you know, use your square, true it up, get exactly where you want, scribe your line, get it where you need it, and then come back, and this is a real nice stare-it center punch, or self-energizing punch. You know, different people call it different shit, but makes a real nice indent. It's hard as hell, but this one's really good for steel. Makes a really good starter hit. That was the one I just did right there. But yeah, just throwing that out there for anybody who doesn't know. Alright, get the receiver tubes tacked up. Got them made so we can get our pins in either vertical or horizontal. Still got to drill through the top so we can drop the pins in from the top. I've also got the bolts so we can tighten them up, whatever tube we slide in there, and take any slop out of it. Like if you're working on a bench of ice and you don't want the damn thing wobbling around, throw a little tension on it. So when we put these in there, I just squared it up with a square to the face of it. And these aluminum squares are nice, not just for carpentry, but for welding. You don't have to worry about any of your spatter sticking to it and then trying to get it off later. Because I found that out the hard way. It's the only problem with these squares when you're actually welding around them is you end up with BBs stuck all to the stainless rule. So yeah, don't do that. That sucks. But coming along. Alright, got the top all welded out. Added some unistrut pieces there on the sides to give the sides some strength. It is galvanized, so if you end up using unistrut for anything, I got it laying around because I'm an electrician. You always end up with extra from jobs. Make sure you grind all the galvanized off, and then I got the garage door open too. Make sure when you're welding that, you got good airflow through, so you guys can probably hear the fan in the back too. But grind as much as you can off, and then get a fan going. Obviously, you don't want to blow any shielding gas away, but have it blowing above your head, or at least getting that crap out of the area. You don't want to be breathing that in when it was zinc poisoning. So yeah, there's that. Time for legs. Alright, so got the legs welded on, shoved the bench back in its hole. Not totally thrilled. After I tacked the legs and I started to weld them up, one of them must have sprung. Either it warped when I welded it, or it got dinged moving around. So that front leg is crooked. Not super happy, but whatever. That's why I do it myself. I can live with it. I didn't pay somebody to do it and spend a bunch of money, and at least I'm not happy with my own work. But the other thing is that the center of the table sprung, so it bowed up. So take care of that tomorrow. I'm probably just going to run another piece of unistrut under it with some weights sitting on it, and we'll weld that down, and hopefully that'll take the spring out of it so it doesn't twing every time I put something heavy on it. But other than that, she's in. Got the holes drilled for the sides. I didn't drill the center one yet. Not sure if I want to have a big hole sitting right in the middle of the bench. I don't mind it so much on the sides, but we'll see what I need later on. At least the hole's drilled in the receiver tube, so it's ready to go if I want it. But got some 1/8 inch plate cut out for a vise mount. Well, that's some 2-inch tube, so it'll slide in the receiver. I would have liked to have 1/4 inch plate, don't have any, so I cut 2 1/8 inch plates and get those marked out. Well, I'll weld them together, so it's basically 1/4 inch plate welded to a 2-inch receiver tube, put some gussets on it, and that'll be the next step.